Here's the solution to question 2 of homework 2. And from this question, we have to solve 5 problems. The first one is finding A so that the density function of S is a vector density. Here's the solution. The density function of S is a vector density, so the integral of density function of S equals 1. So we can get this equation, and this one represents S equals 0, and this one represents X is larger than 0, less than 1, and so we can get A equals 1. The second problem is sketching the density function of X. We know that A equals 1, so we can get the expression of the density function of X. And when X equals 0, the density function of X equals e powers minus 2. And when X is less than 1, larger than 0, the density function of X is larger than 2 times e powers minus 1, is less than 1 plus e powers of minus 2. So we can get this figure of the density function of X. And let's begin the third problem, writing the density function of X in one line by using step functions. Look at the both function. We start from this one, and X is larger than 0, smaller than 1, can be represented by ux minus x minus 1. And however, this function includes s equals 0, and this one doesn't equals x equals 0. And so we have to minus when x equals 0, the result of this one. So we can get this. And when x requires 0, the density function of x equals e minus 2, so we can get e minus 2, this one. This is the final expression. And here is the fourth question, finding the distributive function of x in an analytical form. For x, we know that the distribution function equals the integral of the density function of x. So we can get these equations when x equals 0, and the distribution function of x equals e minus 2, e powers of minus 2. And when x is larger than 0, smaller than 1, we can get this final expression. And when x is larger or equal 1, we can get the distribution function of x equals 1. And when x is less than 0, the distribution x equals 0. Let's begin the final problem, sketching the distribution function of x. And we can get the results from the problem 4. So we can sketch in the figure of the distribution function of x through the answers of problem 4. Here's the figure of the distribution function of x. That's all. Thank you.